So record-breaking hype, staggering player numbers on day one, and by all initial metrics, Wuchang Fallen Feathers, the debut title from Chinese developer Leenzee, looked like a monumental success. It was poised to be the next great Soulslike, a gorgeous, brutal adventure set in the dark turmoil of the late Ming Dynasty. The excitement was off the charts, and for a moment it felt like a new giant had just stepped into the ring. So how did a game with this much promise end up with this kind of reputation? This is the bizarre story of how Wuchang Fallen Feathers convinced the world to buy in right before it completely fell apart for tens of thousands of players, having from negative reviews to now a mixed reviews and on its way up to try to get to positive reviews. So the story of Wuchang Fallen Feathers starts not with a bang, but with a quiet, confident flex. The game first popped up back in September 2021 with a meaty 18-minute gameplay trailer. For a brand new studio, that's a bold move. It showed off a world with a unique, haunting atmosphere that was a refreshing break from the usual European dark fantasy. This was a Soulslike grounded in the rich, turbulent history of China, a setting just begging to be explored. You play as Bai Wuchang, a female pirate struck by a mysterious and gruesome feathering disease, on a mission to uncover a conspiracy and a collapsing empire. The marketing was just masterful, running on the Unreal Engine 5. The trailers promised a visual feast that looked buttery smooth. Every shot was designed to hook you, showing off fast, tough combat against these horrifyingly beautiful monsters. When a big publisher like 505 Games jumped on board, it gave the whole project another layer of street cred. It told everyone this wasn't just some small indie project, but a serious contender. As the release date in July 2025 got closer, the hype hit a fever pitch. Early access was given to some critics and influencers, and the initial buzz was really positive. People who got to play early were praising the core combat, the smart level design, and a super flexible skill tree that lets you customize your character in deep, meaningful ways. This all created a powerful, as it turns out, dangerously misleading story. The message was crystal clear. This game is good. I've streamed this game twice now, put about 6 hours into this game, and God, the combat feels good. The world is cool to explore, and the gameplay systems are really solid. For the legion of Souls-like fans, though, that were hungry for a new challenge, after masterpieces like Elden Ring, or looking for the next big thing from the colossal success of Black Myth Wukong, Wuchang seemed like a sure thing. The stage was set, promises were made, and hundreds of thousands of players lined up while it's open and ready for what they thought would be one of the best games of the year, or I should say one of the best Souls-like games of the year. They had no idea they're about to hit a brick wall. On July 24th, 2025, the floodgates opened. Players all over the world downloaded Wuchang Fallen Feathers. I'm one of those players, and I streamed it day one, fired up, and god dang, we were met with an absolute disaster. The slick, fluid game from the trailers was just gone, and its place was a technical train wreck that instantly became one of the most infamous PC launches in memory. The main problem, honestly, is performance. I played it and streamed it. I experienced a lot of stuttering problems, a lot of frame droppage, a lot of hiccups. And honestly, the game was in the community's own worlds an unoptimized mess. Or some people say another Unreal Engine 5 stutter fest. Reports flooded in. Like, I can honestly pull up all of the Steam reviews and just showcase all talking about the very same thing, just the stuttering, the frame rates. And to make things worse, many players noticed the game just seemed a bit blurry, a far cry from the crisp visuals shown in the marketing. And here's the thing, that really made people furious. This wasn't just a problem for people with older PCs. Even people who have, some of the top of the line rigs were having issues. People who had 4090s or even the new 5090, the high-end Ryzen chips, some of the high-end Intel chips, and they still notice choppiness. And if most of the powerful hardware on the planet can't run the game properly, what hope does anyone else have who do not have similar performance like me? I'm rocking a Ryzen 7 7800XX 3D, 32 gigs of RAM, a 3060 Ti. So my build overall is kind of middle of the road. Sure, I could probably do with another graphics card, a little something better, like maybe a 9070 XT or something of that sort. But like people who have worse specs than me or even better specs than me are struggling. The PC port was the epicenter of the disaster. Console players weren't having a perfect time either. People have experienced stuff on PlayStation 5 and as well as Xbox Series S reported that the game had a tough time holding a stable 60 frames. Some players pointed out screen tearing when some made a fast-paced combat feel just sickening. A Soulslike game lives and dies on how responsive it is. Every dodge, every parry, it all comes down to timing. When a game itself is stuttering and lagging, you can't be precise. Dying to a tough boss is one thing, that's the genre. But dying because the frames dropped or just overall stuttering or your input lag is, the input delay is becoming atrocious, it feels like betrayal. Players who brought into the dream of a polished premium game got a product that for many was fundamentally broken. The gap between what was advertised and what was delivered was overall massive. The beautiful world was a slideshow. The fluid combat was kind of janky, and like I said, I experienced some of this on both of my live streams, and I was just like, dude, what is going on? But man, did players really let the devs know, man? The backlash was quite immediate and it was brutal. Wuchang's Fallen Feather Steam page went from a monument to hype to ground zero of a digital riot. The game was bombarded with a lot of negative reviews, quickly tanking to its score to mixed. For a title with this much anticipation, a mixed rating at launch is a disaster. The review section became quite a public forum for thousands of players to vent their shared frustration. They weren't just mad, they just felt lied to. A lot of the developers didn't really throw out a demo, so we didn't really get to check this game's performance issues beforehand for devs can be able to fix it. If you go on like Reddit or Twitter or X or even YouTube, you can just see a lot of people talking about it and just ranting about some of the gameplay that is just having issues. And a dream of a new Souls-like masterpiece was just dead on arrival, replaced by a nightmare of another broken launch. To their credit, developer Leenzee and publisher 505 Games did not go into hiding. They put out a public statement pretty quickly, admitting the launch was a catastrophe and they really don't understand why. But they were honest with themselves and honest with us as their community. They did say the problem should never have occurred. They deeply regret the inconvenience and negative experiences some players are currently facing. They promised their team was working on it and that patches were coming. And to be fair, the patches did start rolling out. The first few emergency updates fixed some of the worst crashing bugs and started the long, slow process of optimization. These patches, though, had a small but noticeable effect, but for so many players, the damage was already done. The trust between the developer and the community has already been shattered. The fallout from Wuchang's launch was a brutal reminder that in today's gaming world, hype can build you a kingdom, but a bad launch can burn it all down in a day. So how does this even happen? How does the game become both a massively anticipated hit and a technical dumpster fire at the exact same time? The story of Wuchang is a perfect storm of insane demand, huge ambition, and a launch that just completely face-planted. First, you just can't overstate the power of hype. Wuchang tapped into a huge, hungry market. The Souls-like genre has a ravenous fan base, and the game's unique Chinese setting, plus those amazing visuals, was just overall a combination of greatness. People wanted this game to be great, and I'm one of those people. I really wanted this game to be good. I was really looking forward to it. They were sold a vision. They were brought into by huge numbers. The fact that it was also a day one release on Game Pass meant that another massive number of players, like me, for an example, being completely transparent, I got it on Game Pass, was able to jump in right away. The game sold like crazy also because the marketing worked and the concept was a home run. The actual quality of the game at launch, that was a mystery until it was too late. Keep in mind, this game at the point of me recording this video has already sold at least 600,000 units. Sold 600,000 units. We're not even talking about how many people who are playing it on Game Pass. Just between Steam, PS5, and Xbox, 600,000 units in total. And on Steam, it's sitting at a concurrent player base about 115,000 people. So we gotta ask the questions like, the game is good, but like, what's the issue? Then we run into, in my opinion, I believe is the main problem, and this has been a problem for a lot of games who have the similar engine. We have an Unreal Engine 5 issue. This engine can create some absolutely stunning games, but it's becoming quite infamous for optimization issues, especially just the shader compilation stutters. A lot of the negative reviews specifically call Wuchang another unstable Unreal Engine 5 title, which points to a bigger trend that developers are clearly struggling with. It's possible that Leenzee, being a new studio, just didn't have the experience to tame this powerful but tricky engine. It looks like a classic case of their ambition writing checks their technical team couldn't cash. What makes this whole story so tragic is that underneath all the technical garbage, there seems to be a good game. Like I said, I'm 6 hours in. I've beat, I think, 3 or 4 bosses so far, explored most of the main areas, and I got a lot of the weapons. I've upgraded a lot of stuff, and I'm just having fun playing the game. Players who are lucky enough to get a stable experience actually praise this combat, the level design, the world building. This wasn't just some soulless cash grab. It really seemed like it's a passion project that just tripped and fell at the most important part, making sure people could actually play it. The paradox of Wuchang is that the developers made a game everybody wanted to play, but failed to deliver a game that everyone could play. So overall, the legacy of Wuchang Fallen Feathers is a strange one. On one hand, it's a testament to the power of a great concept. It proves there's a huge global audience for games from Chinese developers and for fresh takes on popular genres. Based on hype and initial interest alone, it was already a runaway success. But on the other hand, it's a cautionary tale of a launch gone wrong. It will be remembered as an unoptimized, stuttery mess that let down a huge part of its audience on day one. The game got review bombed and did some serious, maybe even permanent damage to the developer's reputation. The fact that players started releasing their own performance fixing stuff, trying to find ways and things and tips just to make sure the game runs perfectly, it shows how much people wants to play this game and how badly the official version can actually fail them. This whole mess tells us a lot about modern gaming. It shows that pre-release marketing can be completely disconnected from the actual quality of the game that you will get at launch. It shows a cool idea, a great art still can be enough to generate a tidal wave of sales before a single player hits a single bug. So the biggest question in the room: what's next for Wuchang Fallen Feathers? The developers have apologized, are still pushing out patches. History has shown that a comeback story is possible. Games like No Man's Sky and Cyberpunk 2077 really clawed their way back from a disastrous launch to becoming quite beloved titles in their own right. The big question is whether Leenzee Games has the willpower and the resources to make that same painful journey. Can they patch their way back into the good graces of the players that they've already burned already? Or will Wuchang Fallen Feathers always be remembered as the game that sold the world a beautiful, unplayable dream? But let me know, what do you think? Were you one of the ones who jumped into Wuchang at launch? What was your experience? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you enjoyed looking into one of gaming's most bizarre launches, think about subscribing for more deep dives. But as always, Outcast, stay safe out there. It has been your host, KICTV, signing out. Peace.